Hello everyone, this is Kevin T. Rodriguez, film critic of iCritic.net, and this is a video I don't want to make. It's something I don't want to report on, and granted, I'm not the first person to report on it, I know this. But, well, the Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey Circus, aka the greatest show on earth, is closing forever after 146 years, May 30th, I believe. That's the final May 21st, I'm sorry. That is the final performance. This is kind of a hard pill to swallow. And I know I'm part of the problem, but at the same time, I'm still so disappointed because here's the thing. I mean, granted, I'm an 80s kid. I grew up in the 80s and the 90s, and for a long time, the circus was just something you wanted to do. It wasn't always there, but it came around once a year, sometimes twice. And you begged your parents to go see it. And you got popcorn and cotton candy, and there were lights and music and clowns and balloons. And you watched a show where animals did amazing things, and you saw like people tight walk on ropes and swing from a circus tent, and it's like it was spectacular. You never see anything quite like it, and it was real. It was there. And now it's not going to be there anymore. Why is it? Well, according to an article from tristateupdate.com, and I'll post the link to the article below, there isn't one thing, said Kenneth Feld, chairman and CEO of Feld Entertainment. This has been a very difficult decision for me and for the entire family. He goes on to say the competitor in many ways is time. It's a different, adding that transporting the show by rail and other circus quirks, such as providing a traveling school for performers' children, are throwbacks to another era. It's a different model that we can't see how it works in today's world to justify and maintain an affordable ticket price. So you've got all these things working against it. And here's some interesting facts. When the Feld family bought the Ringling Circus in 1967, the show was just under 3 hours. Like, that's how long it was when they bought it in 1967. Today, the show was 2 hours and 7 minutes. It was the longest segment, a tiger act, clocking in at 12 minutes. This is an interesting quote. He said, try getting a 3 or 4-year-old today to sit for 12 minutes. It's 12 minutes. Interestingly, I see kids sit for 12 minutes all the time when they're watching YouTube and stuff, but they don't want to sit for 12 minutes to watch tigers, real tigers, performing tricks. I mean, what? And I know that kind of makes me sound like an old man, like, what's wrong with kids today? But that speaks volumes. That speaks volumes. And so not only is it like are the kids not sitting still, but but the show is getting too expensive to tour around by train and stuff. They have to take the tent down, and they have to cage up the animals. They have to transport them by train, and not there's less railroads open now, so that's a problem. A lot of people don't like this whole, you travel for a living and you don't have a steady home. That's a problem. Animal rights groups, people's perceptions on seeing animals perform stunts have changed. I mean, they pushed hard to basically get SeaWorld to end their whale show, the Shenmue show. They pushed California to end it, and they essentially succeeded, and I personally think that was wrong. I mean, here's the thing: if you don't want to see animals perform, don't pay to see animals perform. That's how you make your point. I don't think it's right to legislate things like this. But maybe that's a different topic for another day. But also the attendance, according to this article, has been dropping for 10 years. And And it was an interesting paradox because a lot of those people who wouldn't go, they didn't go because animals were performing. But strangely enough, they refused to attend the circus without the animals performing. At one point, the circus did remove a couple elephants from the show, and elephants are big. Those are so spectacular. And you had to in fact, for a long time, the elephants, I believe, were in fact, I've actually kind of got proof here, but I'll show you what proof in a little while. So, I mean, it's like in recent years, according to the article, the Ringling Brothers tried to remain relevant, hiring its first African American ringmaster, then its first female ringmaster, which I want to just say up front has nothing to do with the show, but whatever, and also launching an interactive app. I'm not entirely sure what the interactive app looked like. I have a hard time imagining it. It added elements from its other popular shows such as Motorbike, Daredevils, and Ice Skaters. But it was seemingly no match for Pokemon Go and a generation of kids who desire familiar brands and YouTube celebrities. Yeah, it's like, unfortunately, the Ringling Brothers closing, it probably just has a lot to do with change. People just change their taste. They don't want to see animals perform anymore. They don't want long shows. They don't want long acts. And I can even understand that. Like, I knew the circus had to be suffering because here's the thing: every time I go to a movie, if it's not a critic screening, not even 10 minutes goes by when someone's not pulling out their phone and they're playing on it. It's like people don't have the attention span anymore. And I mean, of course, I would love to just get rid of the darn phones. Just get rid of them at this point. They've clearly done way more harm than good, but obviously that's not going to happen. And it's just yeah, it's sad that this had to happen. Um it just yeah, this is just such a sad article. Um I mean, it's worth reading the whole thing. It's truly worth um, reading the whole thing. Now, I saved this part for last that I want to discuss on because I think this might actually be one of the greatest insults to the whole thing. Um, it's like by mid-century, the circus was routine, wholesome family entertainment. But as the 20th century went on, kids became less and less enthralled. Movies, television, video games, and the internet captured young minds. The circus didn't have savvy product merchandising tie-ins or Saturday morning cartoons to shore up its image, which this is kind of true. But yeah, I remember watching shows at the time. Going in movies, going to the circus was a big deal. It hasn't been a big deal in cartoons for a long time now. And ironically, they do have one very culturally significant branding in form of entertainment, which is Cecil B. DeMille's The Greatest Show on Earth, starring Betty Hutton, Charlton Heston, and James Stewart as Buttons the Clown. Made 1952, considered the worst movie to win the Oscar for Best Picture. This is going to be their legacy. Although interestingly, even though this is not a good movie for the record, I mean, I've watched it twice. It was hard to get through the first time. It was a lot harder to get through the second time. Why on earth it won in the first place, I don't know. But the interesting thing is now I'm almost going to cherish this a little bit more because, it actually captured the grand spectacle of what the circus was and that it used to exist. And maybe ironically, the movie will now become like kind of a time capsule. People will watch it. It's like, man, I wish I could have been to a circus when it was still around. And by the way, look what's on the cover. Elephants. The elephants are on the cover. So, elephants were a big deal. But yeah, it's just sad. I honestly, it kind of makes me concerned. Now, I don't think circus event things are necessarily going away because Circus Soleil is definitely a huge thing right now. And Broadway, that's still around. Families like going to Broadway shows. Some of them do anyway. And if you go to Disney's California Adventure, the well, what used to be the Aladdin musical, it's now the Frozen musical, is always full to capacity, and that's like an hour long. So I do think somewhere deep down kids do like shows. I think the circus just lost its grip as a cultural force to be reckoned with, and it was very hard to convince kids these days to care. The last time I went to the circus, I think I was 9. I remember my Uncle Ning took me and my brother, and we had a great time. Remember, I remember the show so clearly. It was a great memory. It's a shame I won't be able to have that experience with my nieces and nephews because getting married doesn't look like it's in the cards, unfortunately. But I have nieces and nephews, and I was maybe one day hoping I could take them, and I guess I can't. Guess I can't. So, Ringling Brothers and Barlow and Bailey, I am so sorry to hear this happened. I apologize if I contributed this in any way by not going to the circus for I don't know how many years. Um, you definitely were one of the greatest shows on earth. I mean, even though I didn't go for years, the fact that I can remember the show that I did go to so clearly can attest to that. Um, I'm just hoping that we don't lose too many forms of live entertainment to our cell phones. The idea of the whole world doing nothing but sitting looking at their phone. And maybe I'm contributing to that because I mean, hey, I'm on YouTube. You're probably watching us on a cell phone now. I don't know. That's a that's a paradox. That's a paradox. So anyway, what do you guys think about this? Did any of you guys ever see the Ringling Brothers show? I'd like to know. Comment below. Like, favorite, share, subscribe, and as always, flame responsibly. Have a good one.